This is MATD1544, and we're busy with trigonometry, and we're going to look now at the radian measurement, the way we measure angles using radians. Okay, now the problem with degrees is that when we use degrees, we are so used to use degrees. Now, and degrees is easy for us because say now I say the sine of 30 degrees is a half. Then it's very easy for us to know what will be the angle and what will be the value. So the 30 will be the angle and half will be the value. So sine 30 is a half. We don't get confused between the degrees and between the value. Now, the problem with degrees is that we cannot use it in calculus. We cannot find the derivative using degrees. So they had to come up with another way to measure angles. And there are more than one other ways, but the one we use for calculus mainly is the radian measurement. Now, what's interesting is if you look at the word and we go up till there, radi, you see then it's very closely related to radius. Okay, so it is therefore related. I mean, radius is also radi. Okay, so it's very closely related to the radius. Okay, and that is how they developed this new way of measuring an angle. Now, the difference between degrees and radians is that, as I said before, when it's degrees, we know the degrees is not the same as a normal value, a normal number. It's something different. But when we do radians, we actually have a length or a number presenting the angle and a number representing the value. So it's not so easy when you use radians to know what is the angle and what is the value. You will really have to be on top of it. You will have to know what are you doing. Otherwise you're going to get confused totally. So, and there were already people confused in class because they did not go through the work. Remember, I told you before you come to the next class, make sure you go over your work in the previous class, because we are building on, that's building blocks. We're building from one class to another class. Okay, now to understand the radian measurement. So what they did was, they said, okay, let's take the radius of the circle. So there we have the radius of the circle. And then we take that length of that radius, and we walk on the circumference of the circle for that length. So in other words, if I have a rope, and I take that piece of rope from there to there, and I glue that piece of rope now on the circumference of the circle, and this is then also, say now this radius was like 2. And this is also now 2. Alright? Then this angle will be 1 radian. Okay, so if I take that length and I go another radius length here, and I measure that angle there, that will then be 2 radii, or 2 radians. I'm sorry, 2 radians. If I go another one up till there, so that was now another 2 length. Then I walked through 3 radii now, and then this will be then 3 radians. So this is another way of measuring the angle using radians. Now, the circumference of the circle is 2 pi radius. Now, let's say now, you must now just focus here. So say now we went on the circumference and we went 2 radii. Okay? So if I want to find the angle, I must divide by 2 radius. I must divide by the radius to see how far we went. Okay. So if we go all around the circle, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, if I go once and I divide by the radius, I will get 1 radian. If I go 2 radii and I divide by the radius, then I have 2 radians. If I go 3 radii, and I divide by the radius, I get 3 radians. So now I know if I went 1, 2, 3, and I divide by the radius, I see I have 3 radians. Okay, so that's how I find the angle. Okay, but now, let me just clean this quickly and then just revise that you just make sure again. So for radian measurement, they took the length of the radius, and then if you go 1 radius here on the circumference, you will have 1 radian. So 1 radius on the circumference divide by radius will give me 1 radian. Okay, if I go 2 radii, 1, 2, then I will have 2 radians. So 2 radii divide by the radius will give me my 2 radians. And so forth. Now, when I went all around the circle, it means I went 2 pi radius. So if I divide that now by the radius, I must get the radians, and that is then 2 pi radians. Just like we did the 3 there, the 2 there, the 1, the 2, etc. So here we have now the relationship. So now we can see that 360 degrees that we were used to right around the circle is therefore the same as 2 pi radians. Okay, so we can also say that 180 degrees is therefore 1 pi radians. And that's the way that we now can convert between degrees and radians. Okay, so we know now that 180 degrees is pi radians. And that's the way we convert between radians and degrees and radians. Okay, you can see here, if we go like about 3 there, we see we get somewhere here. So that's 3 radians, because it's 1 radius, 2 radius, 3 radius. So that gives me now 3 radians. And you can see pi, if you can remember, pi is about 3,14 something. So can you see there that this little part there, you see pi is 3,14, so that is 3, so this makes the 0.14 to get to 180 degrees. Alright, so that is why 3,14 will give 180 degrees. Pi is 180 degrees. Okay, I have here summarized it in the same way in the book for you to see. So here we also can clearly see 1 radian, 2 radians, about 3 radians, 4 radians, 5, 6. And remember, all around the circle will be 2 pi. All around the circle will be 2 pi. So 2 pi makes 360 degrees. Alright, so in the little block here, we can then see that 2 pi is 360 degrees. I actually like to work with pi itself. So 2 pi will be 360 degrees. So 1 pi will be 180 degrees. Okay, who can tell me what will 90 degrees be? Anybody? 90 degrees will be?
It'll be pi over 2.
Okay, well done, because it must be a half 180. So it will be pi over 2, because it must be a half of 180. What will 60 degrees be?
Pi over 4.
Okay, pi over 3, good. What will 30 degrees be?
A pi over 6.
Okay, pi over 6, good. 45 degrees?
Pi over 4.
Pi
Pi
over
over
4.
4.
Okay, we got that now, ne? So we can convert between the two. What will be 270 degrees? Yes? It will be 3 pi over 2. Then 3 times 90. 3 times 90. So 3 pi over 2. Alright, so just 3 times 90. 3 pi over 2. 3 pi over 2. Okay, so this is going to be always in a test 1 or in an informal test. This will be one of the first questions to convert between radian measurement and degrees, because we have to make sure that you can do that. Say now you have 1,000 degrees and we want to know how many radians. So all we do is we take the degrees and we divide it by 180, which is also degrees, and then we multiply it by pi to convert it to radians, and then we will find the radian measurement. Okay, let me just get my calculator quickly. Okay, so we will take the 1,000 degrees, 1,000, divide by 180, just check me on this please, and then times the pi. So I see it is 50 over 9 pi. 50 over 9 pi. I hope you get also that. Or,
Yes, sir.
okay, or we can write it in decimals if they want it in decimals from our 17,45 radians to 2 decimals, radians. Okay, my friends, listen now. Can you now see what is the problem here? Now this is just a value. So if I take now the sine of 17,45, I'm going to get another value. Whatever the value is now. It's not, for the moment, it's not important what the value is. What I'm trying to say is you will really have to know when you work with radians that the 17,45 is the angle. And whatever the answer for sine of that is the sine, because you're going to have two values. It's not going to be so easy as to have sine of 30 is a half, where we know the 30 is the degrees and the half is the value. So you will really have to be on top of this And remember now, in the beginning, it will be a bit difficult for you because you are so used to work with degrees. But the quicker you can make this shift, to work in your radian measurements, the better. Okay, let's just take an example now. If we have, say we have 20 radians. 20 radians. Let's see what is the degrees for that. So I want to now know how many degrees. So now what we do is we take the 20 and now we divide by pi. You see, if we have radians, we divide by radians. And then we multiply by 180 to convert it to degrees. So look now at the difference. In the top one, we had degrees. That's why we divided by 180 degrees. And then times by pi to convert it to radians. Now we have radians. So we divide by pi, which is radians, to convert it. And then times 1 by 180 degrees to change it to degrees. So let's say how many degrees is 20 radians. So it's 20 over pi. Okay, and then times 180. Okay, that, it looks like it's 1145. 1145,92 degrees. I don't know if somebody checked me there, if you agree.
Right, sir.
Okay, good.
Right, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is the first very important thing. We must be able, okay, first of all, we must understand what the radian measurement means and how did they get to that and so on. But then even more important we must be able to use the radians, so we need to be able to convert between the two. Let's just quickly look for the recording's sake, just to the example in the book there. So just make 100% sure, please, that if you convert 75 degrees, that you do get 1.309 radians. So this is now important. So make sure if you take 75 degrees that you do get to 1.309 radians. And then if you take 5 radians, that you do get to 286.5 degrees. I'm just going to stand still for a minute here to hear if you're okay and if you have questions before we move on. Just to make sure that you people get that. Are you okay? You do get the same?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Wonderful. All right. Can we just complete this quickly? Just for remember, we always need to do our special triangles and special angles. So let's just complete this quickly. We said that pi over 6 will be then 30 degrees. We said pi over 4 will be 45 degrees. We said, the quadrants, we all know where that, but it is important, but this is now all in the first quadrant. Pi over 3 will be 60 degrees. It's also, of course, the first quadrant. What will 7 pi over 4 be? Anybody?
It will be 330 degrees.
Say again?
330 degrees.
300 and?
Oh, it's 300.
Okay, 315. You people agree? Okay. Remember, pi over 4 is 45. Pi over 4 is 45. So 7 times 45. Or you can just put 180 in your pi. So 7 times 180 over 4. And that's, of course, in the fourth quadrant. Okay. I just want to show you something here. So remember now, this is 0, this is 90, which is pi over 2, this is pi, this is 3 pi over 2. Remember, we need to be able to convert all this stuff into radians now. But just understand, so now I work with over 4. Then this will be 4 pi over 4 to get back to pi. So if they give me 3 pi over 4, then I know I'm going to be in the second quadrant. And if they give me like 5 pi over 4, then I know I'm going to be in the third quadrant, and so on. And this is 8 pi over 4. So that it can get back to 2 pi, because remember 360 degrees is 2 pi. So 8 pi over 4 will give me 2 will give me 2 pi. So when they give me 7 pi over 4, then I know I'm in the fourth quadrant, because it's just before 8 pi over 4. So this is just a skill that we must get used to get quickly to the correct quadrants. Now 1, 2, 3 in your book, I just put it there for quick reference, that you can just, all the special angles that we tend to use for quick reference. I think it will be good if people make a summary of all the things that is important. Here's the other way that you can do it with a circle. So you can maybe make a copy of that, cut it out, and put it on a little page that you can keep in your books, that you can have a quick reference for 30 as pi over 6, 45 as pi over 4. Of course you can convert, but it's just good if you can be very quick in your conversion. Okay, so this is all about then the radian measurement.